Morning. Um, my name is Cedric Powell. I'm a college classmate of Miss Jones from New Orleans, Louisiana as well. Went to Howard University for undergrad, went to Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas for law school. I'm a corporate attorney practicing now in Washington, D.C. And so I'm excited to talk to you all about what I do, what being a corporate transactional attorney is and means, and then answer any questions you all have. Only going to talk for a short period of time. And then after that, I'll just open it up and I can answer questions. I figure that's more helpful than me just talking on and on about whatever I decide to talk about. If you all have questions that you want more information about, I'm happy to answer those. And I figure that'll be more enjoyable than just listening to me. So, as I said, I'm a corporate transactional attorney. So I practice in private practice. What that means is, so when you go to law school, you get out, you have a number of options available to you. Private practice means you practice for a firm. Your clients are people or corporations, businesses. You can practice for the government. You can practice inside of a corporation, which is known as in-house, or you can work as like a prosecutor or a city attorney. So my practice is a transactional practice, what's called mergers and acquisitions. You may have heard of that before. You may know someone who does what I do, or you may know people who are business owners who have engaged in a merger or an acquisition transaction. So basically, on a daily basis, my clients are people who own businesses or looking to buy businesses or looking to get into business, that there is a willing buyer and a willing seller. Somebody has either a company or product that they want to sell and they need a contract drafted to govern that transaction. So as an attorney, I draft and help them negotiate those contracts. So I don't do any courtroom appearances, no trial work, no witnesses, no judges, nothing of that nature. It's purely a business, transaction-based, contract-based practice. And so I know oftentimes when we think of attorneys, we think of personal injury or we think of criminal attorney, et cetera. I know very little about any of those fields, very little about how to conduct a trial or try a case or defend a case. My practice never involves a courtroom. So on a daily basis, I'm on the phone with business owners, a buyer or a seller, depending on who the client is, help walking them through some of the risks involved in the transaction that they're looking to engage in, and helping them draft and negotiate the contract that will govern that transaction. I've been practicing for 7 years now. I graduated from law school in 2009. So 7 years. I began my practice in Dallas and recently relocated to Washington, D.C. a year ago to continue my practice doing the same work. So I don't know, Anika, if you want me to talk more, but at this point, I would be happy to answer any questions that the class may have.
Okay, so we do have a couple of questions, so I want to let them go ahead and start their questions.
Okay, great.
My name is Jace. What school did you go to? I mean, what college did you go to?
I went to Howard University along with your teacher. That's where we met.
Teachers, questions, and directions. With all seven failures, read your email and only then the
Hi, I'm Paige.
Hi, Paige.
Was it hard to get in the profession that you're in right now?
I wouldn't say it was hard. So in order to become an attorney in the United States, you have to have an undergraduate degree. So that's a 4-year degree, no requirement to major. You can major anything you want to. You have to take what's known as the LSAT, the Law School Admission Test. There's no pass or fail. on the LSAT, but it's a competitive test. So everyone in the country who takes it during that year, they're competing against everyone else. And so there's a score range, I believe 120 to 180. And so the better score you get, the better school you can get into, or the more competitive you are. And so then once you take the test, you apply to schools, then the law school program is a minimum 3-year program. And so that's also a competitive and rigorous type program. So it's 7 years of post high school education. But difficult is challenging. It's challenging. But anything that you do in life that is what you're striving to do is going to be challenging. So I wouldn't say it's any more challenging than any other profession that you may set out to accomplish. Are you thinking about becoming an attorney, Paige?
A little.
Yeah. What do you know? What type of attorney? What interests you about the law?
Like, I really don't even know yet.
Okay. Well, it's very early. You have a lot of time. If it interests you, I would encourage you to pursue it. In high school, you can talk to your guidance counselor. In college, you can talk to your counselor and figure out what area of the law you may be interested in and what courses you may want to take to help you prepare for a career in the law.
Hello.
Hey, Brian.
It's not. Is it working? Can you see me?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. You?
Pretty good.
How many hours do you work a week?
It depends. So again, I'm in private practice. I practice with a large law firm in Washington, D.C. One thing about practicing the way I do is that it's driven by what's known as the billable hour. So most jobs you work, if you have a job and own your own business, you're either going to be an hourly employee or you're going to be a salaried employee. The difference being, as an hourly employee, each hour that you are at the job, when you clock in, you get paid a wage per hour. And so at the end of the week or 2-week period, whatever the pay period is, add up all the hours you work times that wage, subtract taxes from it, and that's your check amount. If you're a salaried employee, then you get a salary for the year, and you just divide that up by the number of weeks in the year, and that's your salary. So for me, I'm a salaried employee, but the way that the law firm works is that every the point is to bill hours to clients matters. So if I'm in work, say for 8 hours one day, but I don't have any client matters I'm working on, those 8 hours are not really helpful to the law firm. So there's an incentive for me to work as much as possible, to bill as many hours as possible, to increase the amount of revenue that's generated for this firm and for me by way of being eligible for different bonuses, etc. So I may work, to answer your question, I may work a 40-hour week, I may work an 80-hour week. It just depends, one, on what's going on, what the clients need, because ultimately it's a service industry, so you're serving the client. If the client has a transaction and they need to get it completed this week, then I'm going to work as many hours as are necessary to accomplish that. So it just depends, but typically no less than 40 hours a week. But as far as the maximum number, there is no maximum.
And what do you do during your free time?
So I have a number of different interests. So I guess my biggest interest is barbecue. So I smoke a lot of meat. Like I said, I've been in Texas since 2009. My dad's from Texas, and so barbecue was a big part of life growing up and has been in adulthood. And so for me, I love to get out and smoke meat, as in true Texas fashion. So that's a huge thing for me. I do it for friends and family, et cetera. Considering doing it, as a profession in my next phase of life. I do a lot of reading. I love to read about history and religion, namely. So do a lot of reading, and then I'm married and have a daughter, and so I spend a lot of time with my family.
My name's Santiago.
Hey, Santiago.
Yeah. Do you like any sports or watch any?
Yeah, I do like sports. What sports do you like?
I like football, tennis,
Professional
basketball.
football or college football? Do you like professional football or college football?
I like professional, both.
Who's your team?
Cowboys.
That's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that. I do like sports. I used to be a much bigger sports fan. It's a commitment. Being married, having a career, having a child. NFL, that's a whole Sunday gone, right? College football, that's an entire Saturday gone. So it's difficult for me to keep up. I play fantasy football, so that really is how I stay connected to the NFL. I rarely catch an NBA game, though I used to be a big NBA fan. It's, as you get older, as you have more responsibilities, you kind of have to pick and choose where you spend your free time. And so for me, I've kind of had to reallocate the time I was spending on sports, which was a lot probably in my 20s, to other things now, in my 30s.
I'm Jace. What is most interesting about your job?
Most interesting? It's a good question. I would say I get to, there are not a lot of minorities who do what I do. There are a number of minority attorneys across the country, but who practice in an emerging acquisitions practice, and not a lot. And so I get to see a lot of the inner workings of businesses, how transactions work. For instance, to give you, so that it's not just conceptual. When I say transactions, I mean when you're watching the news with your parents at home and you see, American Airlines merged with U.S. Airways, right? That happened 2 years ago. I was in Dallas when that happened, and I actually worked for a firm that worked on that merger. So I was one of the attorneys who worked on the documents related to American Airlines and U.S. Airways merging. And that transaction was multi-billion-dollar transaction. And so I get to see, when you see that news headline, I get to see actually what it takes to accomplish that. And I think that that's a really, really cool thing because, as you all probably have heard, knowledge is power. And so the more information that you have, the more power you have. And so being able to obtain that information and then redistribute that information to, classes, to friends, to colleagues, et cetera, that's beneficial. So I think that's probably the coolest thing for me is taking things that would otherwise be kind of a headline, be a blurb, something you see in passing, and having detailed information about the inner workings, and typically in business, which is, that, as you know, in our country, as a capitalist country, business is, a huge component of how our country is structured. So I think that's the coolest thing.
What was challenging about your job?
Challenging? So it's a lot of reading. Being any kind of attorney, you do a lot of reading. If different types of materials. For me, it's a lot of contracts. If you're a trial attorney, you're going to read a lot of cases. But if there's a lot of reading, and so you have to, and it's not reading like the way you would read a novel. Like when you have a book for school, you have to read it and do a report on it. you read it, you understand what happened in it, you write your 2, 3, 4, 5 page report on it, and that's it. The reading you do as an attorney is very detail oriented. Each word matters. You're trying to understand the meaning of the words, what is being communicated, et cetera, et cetera. And so it requires a lot of concentration. So for me, I think that the amount of concentration and reading tied to that, it's like in standardized testing where you do the reading comprehension piece of the test. It's like that every day. Every day you're doing a reading comprehension work. So I think for me, that's the most challenging because sometimes it's dull, right? You don't really feel like reading, 50 pages, in 50 in the morning, 50 in the evening, but the job requires it every day. So I think that's the most challenging.
Okay. Do you get frustrated sometimes in your job or something?
Yeah, I think any person who works, whether it's an after school job or whether it's a career, if you've ever worked, there are going to be frustrating times with that job. But I think one, it's to be expected, and if you think that you won't be frustrated, if it's a job or a business that you own, whatever it is you want to do, there will be frustrations, there will be challenges, and so it's important for me. What I always try to keep top of mind is just remembering why I do it. Like I said, I have a wife, I have a daughter, so a large part of my motivation is my family. And so remembering that at the end, the benefit is far greater than the frustration. That's how I try to approach it when I am frustrated. But of course, there are frustrations. I mean, do you get frustrated with school?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone have any attorneys in their families?
Oh, where do you work at?
I work in Washington, D.C. at a law firm. The name of the law firm is Shepherd Mullen. Do any of you all have any attorneys in your family?
Not that I know of, but I'm pretty sure I have some. I think one of my aunts is.
Okay. Anyone besides Paige considering a career in the law?
A career.
I thought about it, but you said it's too much reading, and I don't like reading.
No, so I didn't say it was too much reading. That's not what I said. I didn't say it's too much reading, you shouldn't do it, et cetera. So don't put that on me. That you said it was too much reading. I said that it involves a lot of reading. If you're interested in the law, but okay, let me take that back. So my practice involves a lot of reading. There are other practices that also involve a lot of reading. There are some practices where you do far less reading and do far more arguing. For instance, a criminal practice. If you practice criminal law, criminal defense, a lot of my friends who I know that have that practice, they don't do the kind of reading I do. It's far more kind of investigative, dealing with people, getting information, and then going into a courtroom and arguing in favor of their client. So my practice and some others, similar to mine, involve a lot of reading. But there are legal practices that are not as focused on reading. That said, law school is reading intensive, no matter what you ultimately practice. But I wouldn't let that discourage you. I'll tell you this, when I was a kid, and younger than you and your age, I didn't like to read either. So like growing up, elementary school, middle school, high school, I didn't like to read. Math was my subject. But I did like some of the other components of a career in the law, namely analysis and argument. And so there are other pieces to it than just reading. So especially in 8th grade, I would not let the reading component of a career in the law deter you, because you may change. Like I said to you before, I like to read now. I read a lot of history, a lot of religious stuff. Because that's for me, that's interesting. Like learning about general world history, learning about civilizations, learning about how religion played a part in different civilizations. That's interesting for me. Some of the stuff that I was reading in school, I don't like fiction. And most of the stuff that we had to read in school was fiction. And so once I realized my issue wasn't with reading, it was with the material, then reading became a fun thing. So that may be part of your problem, maybe reading the wrong stuff. Any other questions?
We have one more question.
Okay, as many as you have.
Did you, when you was young, did you already know that you were gonna be an attorney? Or?
No, I mean, I used to, when I was really young, I used to say I'm going to be an attorney, but that was just kind of, like it was like doctor, lawyer, police officer, teacher. You know what I mean? Like wasn't really a thing. Like I kept preparing to be an attorney. I really made a decision to be an attorney after college. I was working. My first job was in the hotel industry, and I was working a lot of hours, and like the pay wasn't great. And I had to start. I took a business law class in college because I was a business major, and I did really well. And then the professor, he had encouraged me to go to college to law school, based on my performance in that class. And so when I started thinking, okay, what do I want to do next? What's going to be my next career? I thought law school, and since I was 10, I was a barber. So I was a barber in college, a dorm room barber in high school. So I debated between going to law school and going to barber college and pursuing a career as a barber. And I ultimately decided on law school. So it happened in my adult years after college. After I'd already begun my career, I went back to school, back to law school, and then made that switch. So, I mean, with that, I guess that's an opportunity to say you don't have to figure out what you want to do now. You don't have to figure it out in high school. You don't have to figure it out in college. It's a process. It's a journey, and there's a lot of pressure to figure it out early and like do that immediately. And there's some benefit to that. You can get a certain level of security by doing that, but you may not be in the career or field that you ultimately want to be in. So there are a lot of options. I'm an attorney. Being an attorney is just one career. I mean, when people say you can be whatever you want to be, I know it sounds corny, but there's so many different careers out there. Like you can create a career. You can just start. You have a talent, you can start a business based on that talent and get paid to do it. There's no limit to what you can do, but it's all about putting your mind to it, honestly. Like, not like, oh, work hard and you'll be successful, put your mind to it, but think, like, take the time, especially at this age, middle school, high school, take the time to pay attention to what's going on around you, what you see in the world that you like. When the Grammys came on, like this weekend, one of the crazy things, so I'll tell you all the stories after that. So my wife and I went to, have you all heard of the Sundance Film Festival? Nobody's heard of it?
No.
So the way movies get made, like some movies have like a big production house like Disney or DreamWorks or Universal Studios. They'll, make a movie, and so it's automatically going to go to theaters. The other movies get made independently. Like, so this class is in Dallas, right?
No.
Yeah.
You said, are we in Dallas?
Yeah, where are y'all?
Well, closer to Fort Worth side.
Oh, okay. So yeah, man, I'm sorry, Fort Worth.
Yes,
So,
I mean, people get sensitive about that though.
I understand. So like for instance, in Texas, you'll have like Beyonce, for instance. She's from Houston, but she's like a major label artist. She has like a record deal with whatever label, a big label. But then you have an artist like P.R.O or someone else who doesn't have a big major deal. They're an independent artist. And the same thing is true with movies. So you have movies that get made like Avatar, where it's like, or Hidden Figures, where it's a big major production house movie. Then you have movies where you have someone who's a director or a writer. They find $25,000, $100,000, and they make an independent movie. They just make a movie, and then they take that movie and they try to figure out how to make money off of it. And one of the ways that they do that is they submit those movies to film festivals. So the Sundance Film Festival, it's one that's been going on for like 30 or 50 years or something. It's in Park City, Utah, which is a city, for those sports fans, it's a city that's like 30 minutes from Salt Lake City, where the Jazz play. It's up in the mountains. It's actually where the Winter Olympics in 2012 were. And so it's a mountain city, ski city, snow city, and they have a film festival every January, at the end of January. And so this year, my wife and I went for our anniversary, and it just so happened that we had a classmate from Howard who was at Howard with me, my wife, and Miss Jones. He's from Louisiana, from New Orleans, like us, and he made a movie. Figured out how to get it financed. He actually worked on, so going back, after film school, he worked on as a producer on Fruitvale Station. You heard of Fruitvale Station? Oscar Grant story in LA, the kid who the police shot at the train station, the Fruitvale train station. Did y'all see that movie? It came out like 4 years ago. Anybody see it? Miss Jones, you see it?
I've seen it. I was trying to tell him who was in it and give him a couple of hints, but
yeah. So it's the guy who was in Creed. What's his name?
did y'all see Creed? Michael B. Jordan, right?
Yeah, Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan was in it. Ryan Coogler was the director, and our classmate, he was one of the producers on it. So that movie premiered at Sundance as well, and then there are a few other film festivals. So after that, he wrote a script. His script is about HBCUs, college fraternity process, the hazing pledging process, and he got funding for it, got Common to invest in it, got some real actors, like known actors, to be in it, and then he submitted that film to Sundance, and he was accepted. Of 10,000 films, they picked like 50 or 30. His was one of them. And so his career as a filmmaker, like Spike Lee, like Tyler Perry, name anyone who makes movies, it's the same concept. And so when I'm saying that, you just think about what you want to do, think about what your talents are, what your interests are, there's no set roadmap. Anything that you are good at, that you're interested in, you can make a career out of it. It's not just lawyer, doctor, teacher, policeman, fireman. Those aren't the only options. So it's a long way to say that.
Well, Cedric, I think that the students have asked all of their questions, and they are going to transition to their next class in about 4 minutes. So everyone, real quick, you can take your mute off. Tell Attorney Powell thank you for his time.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Gracias.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for asking great questions.
The number.
All right, mute back on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all have a great day.
Okay, you too. Thanks. All right.
Find out.
Go ahead.